After a number of public disagreements between the White House and the FBI director, it is an open question whether Christopher Wray will hold on to his job after the election, even if President Trump wins. Wray has given a very different assessment than the president on a number of issues, from Antifa to voter fraud. A senior administration official confirmed to CBS News that President Trump soured on his chosen FBI director months ago, and that Wray's exit could come immediately after the election. With just over a week of voting left, the agency has not provided the Trump campaign with the kind of October surprise that proved damaging to Hillary Clinton back in 2016. The president has repeatedly tried to direct attention toward alleged corruption involving Democratic nominee Joe Biden's son Hunter and his work in Ukraine. But there is no indication from intelligence officials that the Bidens or their associates are under investigation.
Yeah, the FBI should be investigating. I don't know if they are or not, but they should be investigating them, and you'll have to call Wray and ask him.
Separately, the president has been looking forward to a Justice Department report from U.S. Attorney John Durham that he hoped would undercut the Russia investigation. It's now unlikely that report will be released before Election Day. In response to a recent Axios story which named Director Wray among a list of officials the president plans to fire if he wins re-election, a senior FBI official released this statement, quote, "Major law enforcement associations representing current and former FBI agents, as well as police and sheriff's departments across the country, have consistently expressed their full support of Director Wray's leadership of the Bureau." For more on this, let's bring in former FBI Assistant Director Greg Brower. Greg is also a former U.S. attorney. He is currently co-chair of Government Investigations and White-Collar Defense at Brownstein Hyatt Farber Schreck. Thank you very much for joining us. So I want to talk about the line the FBI director has tried to walk between defending the agency's political independence and trying to avoid confrontations with President Trump. Generally speaking, how would you characterize the relationship between a president and an FBI director?
Well, Elaine, it's great to be with you today. The relationship typically between a president and an FBI director is and should really be at a very long arm's length. There should be no interference by the White House or the president with the FBI or with the Department of Justice generally. And there really should be very little communication outside of the normal intelligence briefings and other interaction that is really necessary for the president to understand about what the FBI is doing, mostly in the counterintelligence sphere. When it comes to criminal investigations, that's just something the FBI needs to be able to do on its own with independence, and something the White House and the president should not be interested in to the point of interfering at all. This is what we've seen in the last 4 years is unprecedented, to say the least.
Well, when asked to weigh in on the authenticity of emails that purportedly contain damaging information about Hunter Biden, on Tuesday, the FBI did not dispute intelligence that concluded the laptop on which they were found was not part of a Russian disinformation campaign, but the agency would not confirm or deny the authenticity of the emails. Why do you think that is?
Well, that is in keeping with the FBI's typical textbook response to any inquiries about whether a particular investigation is pending or not pending. It's simply inappropriate in most cases for the FBI to confirm the existence of an actual investigation. And so that's why you saw the response that you saw from the FBI last week. I think for the American people, what's important to understand is, regardless of whether the FBI is confirming or denying anything, the American people should look at the source of that story, Rudy Giuliani and others, and ask themselves, does this seem credible? Because the FBI is not likely to be able to really say anything about it before the election.
Well, Wray is less than 4 years into a 10-year term as director. What would firing him mean for the agency and its political independence?
Well, two different questions there. I would answer the first question: what would it mean for the agency? It wouldn't be good for the agency. The agency has been through what we might call a political firing already in the last during this presidential administration. Another one would, obviously not be good for morale, but I think it would reflect poorly mostly on the president than it would on the Bureau itself or even on Director Wray. So if there are two scenarios here, one is if the president were to fire Director Wray despite having won re-election, then I think there would be a lot of concern about who the president might install in that position to replace Director Wray. That would likely be a political crony who would not, frankly, have the best interests of the Department of Justice and the FBI at heart. If, however, the president fires Director Wray just in a fit of anger after the election, despite having lost the election, well, that's not ideal for the agency or for Chris Wray personally. But there will, of course, be a new appointee, a Biden appointee to replace Director Wray, and we can assume that President Biden would appoint someone with impeccable integrity and competence and professionalism to step into that role. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But Chris Wray is a dedicated public servant. I had the privilege of working very closely with him. If he is fired by this president, that ought to be a badge of honor for him, but unfortunately it would not be good for the FBI or the country.
All right, Greg Brower for us. Greg, thank you very much.
Thank you.